We're going to talk about Nickelodeon. We're going to talk about Diddy. We're going to talk about this person that went on an airplane without a ticket. We're going to talk about the boat crashing into the bridge in Baltimore, a bunch of different shit. But I think we should talk about Nickelodeon first because I just watched the 4 episodes right before you got here. And then you told me there's a 5th episode, which I didn't even know about.
I've been seeing it online. Yeah, it's been, I guess it's listed on Google. I don't know if any of you can confirm, Pham. But it says that the 5th episode, I forget what the fuck it's called. It's like the truth comes out or something like that. But it comes out on April 7th.
What other truth?
It could be more victims. It could be someone else coming forward.
Right. So, crazy watch. Very sad.
You know who I have fucking beef with? Brandy's mom. Which a lot of people on the internet have beef with Brandy's mom.
Yeah, one of my notes was she didn't do anything. And she could have saved a lot of lives. But I feel like she's probably aware of that at this point. Especially seeing what happened down the line, right? Like now I'm invited back to this documentary about the very thing that I tried to avoid. And I could have saved people by telling someone about, you know?
She didn't seem that remorseful.
Really? I thought she seemed upset, you know?
Upset, but upset is different than remorseful. Like,
yeah, maybe she didn't display remorse, but maybe I assumed a little bit since she agreed to be on there, you know?
It's just, I think it's harsh for me to, like, she sat up there and she said, I didn't call the police because I thought, what will the police think about me as a mom?
Right, of course. Horrible reasoning and not justified, and I disagree with her, but for her to be there how many years later, she had to have known.
Well, where's her daughter now? Because she wasn't on the documentary. And she's not the person who's narrating.
True, but you know, some people just don't want to come into contact with that kind of exposure to the most traumatic part of your life, you know, because Drake Bell's life, like for the next few years, is going to be based around these discussions.
Yeah.
And people asking him about it and hearing the response to it and the pour of sympathy he's going to be feeling from co-stars, employees, family members, or people that didn't know. So it changes your whole life, you know?
His dad in that documentary like broke me.
Oh my God.
The guilt that he holds.
He never knew, and then he finally tells him. It's crazy. If anyone hasn't seen it, I can't believe you're listening to this right now because I'd be very surprised. But it's incredible. It just covers all of the crazy shit that was going on behind the scenes in Nickelodeon with 2 verified pedophiles who were convicted, were producers on the show, worked on the show. And then the main writer, who it's mostly about, what was his name?
Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider.
No charges, no nothing.
No charges, no nothing. There weren't really any comments about him being sexually abusive, but he was very vulgar in the workplace. He sexually harassed his employees, would ask people to massage him on set.
He's sexist.
Females only. Super sexist, right? Because all the boy actors and all the male actors who were kids back then, most of them, except for the black guy, had like good things to say about him. Like he was cool, that he would game with them, like he was always super nice.
It was more of like, oh yeah, we would see him like lash out, or like we would see him do this to other people. It was more their perspective versus the people who were in his like wrath path.
Right, and all the one-on-one with the women's was always negative. They always had something very negative to say about him.
And there's lots of videos, like behind the scenes videos, because he recorded everything, like resurfacing again now, where you see, like you can see everyone's body language change. Like you can just tell how uncomfortable everyone is when he's around with his camera in everyone's face. But also a huge shout out to Jerry Trainer, who's the like adult in iCarly. Because literally after the documentary came out, he cut all ties with Nickelodeon.
I think Nathan Kress did that too. Freddie from iCarly.
Boom. He was like, you can tell in a lot of these behind the scenes videos that he's just like trying to get in the way of Dan. Yeah. Like he's always sheltering them or trying to get them out of an uncomfortable situation because Dan's around and Dan's coming.
Which is, if you're a good person and you're socially aware of what's happening, that's kind of your responsibility, is to protect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, people that you can protect. And even them being in that situation, trying to, you know, diverge or move away from him doing those things, they're putting themselves in
in the
in
past.
trouble too, potentially, and they don't want to. So it's kind of like very passive, like trying to get in the way, but not make him upset,
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary when you have that much power. And
Yeah, he was the golden boy.
Yeah, and I did want to say that the mom of Drake Bell's girlfriend's
Yes,
mom,
yep.
the one that noticed that something was off and was the one that, called his mom.
Yep.
And she's like one of the big heroes for me of the story.
Yeah.
Even
His
though
mom, I
Drake
also
Bell's
have beef
mom
with
didn't end up doing anything with that info, it was still like the first person in the story that was like, something is wrong
this is
and
fucking
someone
weird.
needs to know.
When I watched that and like that part came on and it was talking about that, I just like, I started tearing up because I was like, fucking finally, a sane adult, another sane adult, because his dad is now out of the picture, and fuck his mom too. His mom can get run over by a bus. I have beef with her too, because she just didn't give a shit. She was like, nah, I don't want to fucking drive you, so just go stay at this fucking guy's house.
Yeah, it's tough. I definitely see her as a villain in this story too, but it's tough, man. I feel like a lot of parents can be passive with their kids, and I spent a lot of time outside of my house growing up, and my parents didn't really have like a huge hold on my time or where I was or what I was doing. So like that's not uncommon to have a relationship with your parents and you're kind of distant and they're, maybe not showing up to all your practices and driving you to games and shit. And it just happens in this one scenario, you are going into the worst environment ever and being abused. And
I think it's like, I think it still falls on the parent. Like it's your responsibility to at least teach your child to understand the difference and know.
But think about what the dad did. The dad did everything he could, and guess what? He couldn't help either.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's like if you didn't know anything, and then the dad who was onto it from the beginning,
from the jump, from the fucking jump,
warned everyone at every step that
begged his fucking mom not to let him like be alone with him.
So sad.
It's like, dude. Like I felt so terrible for the dad because you can see it in the whole documentary. Like he still holds on to so much guilt. Like he blames himself so much. And it's like you can't blame yourself. Like,
but how can you not?
There was a wedge. Like, what are you gonna do when your kid's not talking to you? That your ex-wife's not talking to you? You have no information. You have no way of knowing anything.
Yeah, but as a parent, I can't imagine you'd probably feel solely responsible.
Yeah.
You somehow, one way or another, led them to the event of the abuse.
Yeah.
You were the one that read the newspaper ad about the auditions that were coming up and got him involved and pushed for that and continued to push for that. Like, I can see him being like, I literally led my son to the path where he was going to get abused. One way or another, you'll find a reason to blame yourself.
Because you're the parent. If you're a good parent.
It was so sad to see him cry and feel that remorse, that regret. It's cried. Fuck, man, how can you not? Like, if it was me, I'd feel just as bad. But to see them like hugging and the father and Drake's relationship mending, seems to be. For sure. I mean, he alluded to, I think Drake said that they're working on a relationship again. Yeah. So that was great to see.
It was, for sure.
One of my big takeaways that I felt watching the full 4 episodes, because I just went straight through them, was evil is bold.
It's in your face.
In your face, right there in front of you. And they just flaunt it.
Yep.